Right.
Right, so, as some of you know, some water came down from above, right?
Yeah, and where is it,
So
and
I'm
where
gonna-
is the mold?
So I'm gonna go through
Okay,
with you.
sorry.
Nope, it's okay, I'll run through it as quickly as, so then we have to leave. So, a couple things, one is we had it tested, that was one piece. We also had the mold, samples, the report, we actually had it reviewed by 2 different companies, just to make sure we had some, either parity or, or if there were other issues, we wanted to make sure that it was good. The good thing in the world of mold is that it's not harmful mold, which is good. I mean, of course, people that have very high sensitivity allergies, like Shelton apparently, because he sneezes like crazy this last week. But in general, it is thankfully not a unhealthy mold, which is good. The part of the reason why some of the things have been delayed, we have a lot of effort has to do with ripping up some floors and replacing the floors, as I believe it's scheduled for January. It was pushed to January. Let me go information and you can ask questions. It was pushed to January because of some of the events that were still kind of busy. So,
That's also my interruption.
yeah.
That's also a dead period of permitting. Also, I think there's
Right.
a permitting lull between January and February, and that's the only available time without interrupting programming as well.
Right.
But programming is being interrupted, but where, I didn't know about the floors, that's why I wanna know where the mold is.
Sure, so when you do the right due diligence in trying to find out where things are, it's not just what's superficial and what you can see on sheetrock or something like that, because that's kinda easy. You can rip out a piece of sheetrock and put a new piece up, and it could remain ugly for a while until somebody goes in there, spackle it and paint it. This, we had to make sure, water finds its own route, it goes in between the floorboards, so we had to do endpoint sampling underneath the floor to see whether or not there was a larger, it was, dark and wet. That's perfect for mold, so that's where we had to make sure the samples came from, not just the superficial stuff that's up along the ceiling. Like you might know, some people have, it's often to find mold on a ceiling in a shower because of all the steam and things like that. So it's a similar type of mold, it's atmospheric. When the mold samples get taken, it is typical for these people that are licensed to do this, that they take control samples in and they take samples outside in the air.
Right.
Because they want to see whether or not these are atmospheric molds that are typical, or this is something that is unique to, whether it be the source of the water, something that came down with the water, what type of water was it, things like that. Obviously, without saying, it could be domestic water, it could be water that came from a condensation pipe, it could be sanitary water. So we had to make sure that we had good control over those items. So part of the biggest delay in doing it is there's a couple things. One is it's not just a patch of wood. Even though the patch of wood in the area, to rip it up and put it right back down would be the easy answer, but then we don't get a nice, uniform, clean, beautiful floor. So what we're doing is, it's not only the patching, but then it's refinishing of the entire floor,
In which room?
in both rooms.
It's actually all throughout the building.
Yeah.
I think they did, for the first phase, they did the dance studio, and they redid the floors for that, I believe.
Wait, are you referring to the small dance studio in the old part of the building?
In the
Or are you
corner.
referring to the small and large studios
The large
where,
studios,
the
that was the
large
first- that was the
studio
first
and
phase.
where the congregation is?
The large studio where the congregation is, I think the large studio was closed down for a period of time. They redid the floors, they actually did mold remediation in that room as well, and that was sectioned off. The rest of the building still indicated mold, and all through, it's not one specific room, it's all throughout the building. I saw the report myself as well, as Mike mentioned, they had the third party tested as well. We looked at the time frame where it would, I guess, be least intrusive for all of the other permittees, and January is the best time frame we had without interrupting service.
There was no way to start earlier because, for example, most of the groups that use it are not around for Christmas.
We
and the
tried,
week before
we looked
Christmas.
at everything end to end, we tried, that was the permitting period, I think, starts now, I would say.
So what it was,
Talk
is,
to us.
so what it was
So are
is
you
that
saying
the
that the
contractors
floors-
say they need a certain amount of time.
So no, are you saying that the floor in the small studio is also being
It's been
replaced?
all, no, I don't have the exact space of which floor is being ripped up and not, it's all throughout the building, there's certain areas that have more.
So where there's linoleum and,
It's in
some of the
ceilings,
floors
it's
have,
in cracks, it's in
And
all
in
throughout,
which
it's in
ceilings
closets,
is
it's
it?
in closet near the theater.
well, I know it's in the
control-
closet by
control
the
room, thank
theater.
It's
Right.
all throughout, end to end. I see, if the entire building, has mold. I have the report in my office. It's end to end.
Now, we're not talking about just put it in perspective, it's not prolific mold.
Exactly.
It's not the blob that's gonna be
Yeah, I
showing up.
understand that.
But-
It's not, it's more that we asked for end to end, have the whole place checked.
Correct.
Not just look in two different rooms where we thought that the water would
There
have
was
the most
no
damage.
perfect time to do something. I
There's
understand.
never a perfect
I understand, we
time.
understand,
Right.
with this type of remediation,
Right.
we want, before it becomes something that is concerning,
Mhm.
we want to get ahead of it and making sure that it would be least impacted for the residents. I wish we had a better solution, but we had to just get ahead of it.
So, and it's your feeling that that by closing on December 31st and reopening, that you'll be ready to reopen
Yes.
by the first week of
Yes.
February?
I mean, we
So
actually,
that we won't be any more convenienced.
Correct.
And I
We
say
actually
for
gave
the editorial we.
we actually gave ourselves a little bit of a cushion. I think it's a 3-week process. We allowed ourselves 4. If it's open earlier, then we would do so, but in case something happens, we give ourselves a little bit of a weak cushion. For that.
Okay.
Now, the funny thing about wood, as you know, with refinishing it, you have to allow it when it gets sanded, they gotta be able to vacuum it up, it's gotta dry, you gotta seal it and dry and seal it and dry.
We
for it
all
to be
know
a-
about that from the 2012 closure.
Right,
You know, first we had flooding from the ceiling in
Right.
July of 2012, and then we had Hurricane Sandy.
right,
So we're very, you know, those of us who are the big users are very familiar with that.
sure.
But we were very concerned because was there a little mold? Was there a lot of mold? Which room was it in?
Right.
You know, all of our families who use the cultural center, you know, we finally had to tell people we're closed. There's mold abatement. Everybody went nuts because we didn't have any information other than you telling one organization a month before anybody else was informed that the place was going to be closed.
And what's
I
the
just
point,
want
please?
to, I just want to say that, you know, we could use a little improvement with how we notify people and how we let people know. Especially we had services and I said, you know, we're gonna be closed in January from mold abatement. And everybody looked, well, they didn't look up at our ceiling because it's a concrete ceiling,
Sure.
but everybody looked down at the
Sure.
floor.
So, I mean, there's always a need for better communication just in general, and I'm not saying that as it's gonna be better, but, you know, we try to use as many pathways that are existing. Some people have follow-up questions, it's not always easy to get, you know, when the questions come in, they get answered straight out to everybody. Usually people will knock on the window and ask a question, what do you think, and that's kinda it. Or we send the information through Donna as best as we can because she's more of a point person.
She's been okay.
You know, and then the other piece is, you know, the other actor that's involved in this is obviously, Urban America Above, about getting them, not only getting them committed, but getting their contractors and getting everybody, and us organizing their efforts.
To your
And is
point,
there anything going
Herculean.
on upstairs at Urban American in the senior center which is some of the source for some of the water that had been
Senior
leaking?
center, the senior center is like a big room.
The senior center
or
is
that-
right above the cultural
Right.
center.
Okay,
Right.
I've never
This is
been up
not
there.
for this meeting.
Okay,
All right,
so,
I'm sorry,
Okay.
Faye, but
So what we did, we had already, I mean, for as long as I've been, you know, kind of in this advisory role for over a year now, I know that I've had continued conversations with Urban about specific ones. They've been documented, they've been given the opportunity to not let it get this far. And, you know, you can only force somebody, you know, and then you can only send them, you know.
no, I'm sorry.
Mike,
So
Jump off
we-
the
we-
edge of
all
time.
right, so I
Yep,
apologize,
it's fine.
but
I can set the meeting with you,